Welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this particular illogical thinking Anglo Male that was supposed to have been talking about how great uh, Boise, Idaho was on whatever this panel or conversational type personnel with these other three Anglo personnel on there. And instead of just talking about what they were supposed to talk about, he had to sit there and interject again what various personnel that think just like him, they had to interject something in dealing with Black American personnel that had not a darn thing to do with the conversation. Right? But they continue to keep trying to tell Black Americans by the millions that there's no such thing as race still. Or should I say, they continue to keep acting like there's no such thing as racial racism, hatred toward American Blacks. And so the thing about it, that the people who have been the most hated people in America for centuries are told there's no such thing as racism. Things have completely changed. But have you noticed they'll never tell personnel within what we call supposedly Native Americans? They'll never tell them, hey, I don't want you ever talking about the white man took your land and the Trail of Tears was about 200 years ago, and you're not going to hear numbers of Anglo personnel the ones applies to saying, I don't want my reparations going toward the Native Americans. No, 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 no. They ain't going to do that because they know what's going on, right? Because they also know that some of their people that paid a few dollars and became $5 Indians, right? Oh, they don't want to talk about that, right? See, the thing about it is, it's something about this instill hatred toward American Blacks when collectively American Blacks do not commit the most crimes. The American Blacks, especially American Black males, are not the most violent people. But it's got to do something about, you got to say something about American Blacks. It's an end thing to do. And then when you have some personnel that have the Black adjacent, the ones who know they are, that flee from their countries or other different places, right? Flee from people that look like them, right? That had corruption going on, major tribalism going on, right? Murders between however numbers of those personnel, robberies, assaults, REPEs, things going on country, different, etc. But flee over to America and have the freaking audacity to sit there and try to call Black folks lazy. But unfortunately, multi-millions of American Blacks, unfortunately, it's a fortunate but unfortunate situation, are the most openest people. This is why so many immigrationist personnel, especially a few generations ago, were stuck in predominantly Black neighborhoods because personnel within certain parts of the Potomac culture is like, nope, we don't want those immigrating personnel over here, especially when they have that old Black skin. Oh no, no, no! Keep those Black adjacent Negroes over in those Black other Negro neighborhoods, right? But let me go ahead and play this particular video because I don't want to sit there and make this a long show or anything. So let me go ahead and just play this particular video.
Listen to this.
But Boise it's a really nice place. It's
for an American city.
It's top-notch American city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are still very good bars around, great food. There's the Basque District. Again, it's clean. There aren't any Black people here. There aren't any Black people here. There aren't any Black people here.
Okay, so you're talking about your city. You're saying how you like it. You're saying how it's clean. And we know how you clean, so it ain't really clean. But in the midst of talking about your city, no Black people are around. Okay, let's play it again. No Black people are around you, right? You living in a white utopia.
But Boise it's a really nice place. It's
for an American city.
It's top-notch American city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are still very good bars around, great food. There's the Basque District. Again, it's clean. There aren't any Black people here.
And that's what you worry about, black people, right? I told y'all, we don't even have to be around, and they're talking about us. We don't live around them, and in their household right now, they're talking about us. Like, can we get a restraining order from the Supreme Court on these people at this point? We need the Supreme Court to order a restraining order. We need one. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, could you give me a restraining order? Could you give FBA's a restraining order on these people?
Mm, 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 mm. But you'll have personnel. You didn't hear what you heard. You didn't hear anything. What you did not hear about the racial racism, anti-American, black hatred that came out of his mouth, you didn't really hear that, right? Your mindset just was going crazy, right? Don't listen to what you just heard, right? Watch this for a second. This is how numbers of them think, the one this applies to.
Negro, what are you doing breathing? Where'd you come from? Who created you? Who would have the nerve to create something like you? I mean, who would make that kind of mistake? You're nothing but a walking mistake. My God, deliver me.
This is what personnel like this and their mentality, warped mentalities, is how they look by their conversations of that violence that came out of his mouth, right? And ones that have a like-minded like them. And then they'll sit there and tell you, well, I mean, it's not about race. It's not about race because that's not what I meant and stuff like that. Because I know that black folks, I mean, black people are always talking about race when it's not about race. Because what I meant was, hold on for a second. But black people always talk about race because it's not all. Yeah, I'm not gonna play that game, right? Last thing I want to play this is this.
Because you don't look like me. And what do we go for then? We say, well, if I want to get out of this suffering, then I should be as much like him as possible. As a matter of fact, if I get so much like him where he can't tell the difference between me and himself, he won't punish me anymore. I will no longer be what? A victim. So therefore, we are motivated then to come outside of ourselves, to move toward the person that is destroying us and victimizing ourselves, hoping that if we can get them to love us, and if we can show them how much we love them, and if we show them how much alike we can be, we can get them to not see us as color. You know, look at me, don't look at me as a black person, look at me as a person. You know, to abstract us. In other words, in order for other people to love us, they must not see the blackness of our skins. They must see some kind of invisible abstraction before them. True love is a person who sees you for all of your blackness and your big lips and your big nose and your kinky hair and still does what? Loves you. If they got to remove your hair and they can't see you standing before them as a black person, they don't love you, ladies and gentlemen. For a person to say, I don't see you as black, how can you not see me as black? I'm standing right in front of you.
That's right. In that situation with that anti-American black hatred Anglo Male, he's probably barely seen black Americans, barely, right? And you think what, every single little barely one he saw was criminal? Of course not. And here's the crazy part: Boise, right, is a very small, well, depending on what area of Boise you're talking about, the Metroplex area or some of the surrounding areas, a few 100,000 to I think less than 1 million people, right? But the thing about it, black Americans only made about less than 1% or barely above 1%. Again, depending on what part of Boise you're talking about, that's still a minute number. and he still had to open his mouth up and talk about Black Americans that had nothing to do with the conversation when it was supposed to be about talking about how great Boise is. So I'm gonna play this one last time on this situation before I close out the show.
Listen to this.
But Boise it's a really nice place. It's
For an
beautiful.
American city,
It's top-notch
is.
American city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are still very good bars around, great food. There's the Basque District. Again, it's clean. There aren't any black people here. There aren't any black people here.
Didn't say anything about, well, it's not that many Hispanics here. It's not that many what we call Native Americans here. It's not that many immigrationist type personnel here. They have to say there's really basically not any black people here. The anti-American black hatred is very strong. And if American blacks do not get it through many skulls, as I have relayed over many times, and I relay this again, American blacks only have half a generation to one generation left before the overall complete destruction of the American black culture overall, because it's too many internal problems, too much anti-American black hatred that's been allowed to continue at the level it is on that situation. So only people that will survive are what I call the cultural survivors within within American black culture. Because overall American blacks collectively just ain't gonna survive. Because too many do not see through what's happening right now. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.
Great food. There's the Basque District. Again, it's clean. There aren't any black people here. There aren't any black people here. There aren't any black people here.
Okay, so you're talking about your city. You're saying how you like it. You're saying how it's clean, and we know how you clean. So it ain't really clean. But in the midst of talking about your city, no black people are around. Okay, let's play it again. No black people are around you, right? You living in a white utopia.
But Boise it's a really nice place. It's
For an
beautiful.
American city,
It's top-notch
is.
American city.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are still very good bars around, great food. There's the Basque District. Again, it's clean. There aren't any black people here.